I sent a message yesterday to Mr. McSorley indicating that I believe some of his dates were wrong in the panel summary. The 5/17/21 Revo hearing, I think should be May 17th, 2019.
Right, I think you're right about that. I looked at that as well. Okay, all right. Then I'm going to call case number 2019 CR 17, captioned State of Kansas versus Marty Baskin. Would the parties announce their appearances, please?
May it please the court, the state appears by Assistant District Attorney Claire Thibodeau.
May it please the court, the defendant appears by Attorney Christy Cadell. The defendant appears in his own true person in custody.
All right. We are here set down for a hearing on the state's motion to revoke probation. As I look at it, it appears that this motion was filed in November of 2019, and it was set for hearing. The defendant did not appear at that hearing. A bench warrant was ordered, which stayed outstanding until recent days when he was picked up, and we scheduled this hearing for today. That motion alleged 5 violations. The first was the failure to report. Second being a failure to engage in complete substance abuse treatment. Third was a positive alcohol test. The fourth was failure to gain or maintain employment. And finally, failures to make payment. Ms. Cadell, I would ask you if you had an opportunity to go over these allegations with your client and if he has a position on those.
Yes, sir. I have spoken to my client at length regarding these allegations. We will stipulate to the allegations and ask to be heard on the disposition.
All right. State, I assume you accept that stipulation?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And Mr. Baskin, you know, and I know that Ms. Cadell has advised you of this, you're not under any obligation to stipulate to the violations. If you wanted to make the state prove them before I accepted them, you would have that right. You understand that?
Sure.
And knowing that you're agreeing to stipulate to those today?
Yes, sir.
All right. I need you to speak up loud. My court reporter's taking you down and it's really hard to hear.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I would hear you, your comments on disposition first, Ms. Thibodeau.
Your Honor, we have tried to help Mr. Baskin on his probation. He has been unsuccessful every step of the way. Unfortunately, this time the state would be requesting revocation and that he serve his original sentence. I believe he has about 181 days of jail credit.
All right. And Ms. Cadell, your comments on disposition today?
Your Honor, I'm just taking note of the 181 days of jail credit. And I would ask the court, what date was the probation hearing that my client failed to appear at?
It was, looks like bench warrant, a probation violation warrant was ordered on November 25th. That would have been the same with the motion for revocation, which indicates that it was not a failure to appear. It was an absconder warrant. I misspoke, and thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you, sir. I just couldn't find that in my record and
Right. No,
wondered if
you're
I also
absolutely
failed
right.
to appear. Judge, I will admit that my client has not been successful on probation. However, it's been a very unusual year for all of us with the court being shut down. Mr. Baskin has had some unusual challenges, similar to all the rest of us in this past year with the COVID shutdown. He has been struggling with being homeless, and with being homeless, not only was he living outside, but he did not have transportation. He didn't have a telephone. He's literally been doing everything he can to get by just to be able to feed himself. He hasn't been working because of the COVID shutdown and also because his identification has expired. He is living with friends around the area of 36th and State. And even though he hasn't done a lot of what he was supposed to do, I think the most important thing here is that, yes, we admit that he did test positive for alcohol. However, looking back at the case in and of itself, this started out, I believe, as a possession of cocaine case. And Mr. Baskin hasn't been able to afford any cocaine and or alcohol or gasoline or cell phone or anything else. And he hasn't used cocaine in 2 years, and he can drop a clean UA. So I think the most important factor that I would like to point out to the court is that this young man is rehabilitatable. It was a drug case, and he hasn't been doing drugs. He's experienced some hardships along with the rest of us during the COVID pandemic, and has not been able to establish himself or get his feet under himself. Given the fact that he has had these challenges, I would ask the court to not put a drug offender into the Department of Corrections, where, quite frankly, they'll just have access to more drugs and be networking with people who do drugs and, possibly go into the penitentiary with one drug habit and come out with a whole different one. So I'd like the court to give him another chance. Let's see if we can get him, if he hasn't been doing drugs, then if we could get him another chance at rehab, he should be able to conquer that and graduate from that program like a cakewalk. So given all of those things, Judge, we do admit that he has had some struggles, and based on everything I've just said, I'd like the court to give him another chance, extend his probation, put him back in rehab.
All right. I'm not certain, I inherited this case from someone, and I recall looking through the ROAs, and at one point, the defendant was given a tier 1 sanction for a couple of days. And then on the next Revo, he was given 60 days, but leave to be discharged directly into inpatient drug treatment if that became available before his 60 days expired. I guess I'll ask you, Mr. McSorley, did he end up doing all of those 60 days, or did he get discharged into a facility?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe he ended up doing the full 60 days of shock time, because at that point in time, the earliest bed date available was, I think, a couple weeks after the 60 days was up.
All right.
So
And
he did not.
how many times between the time that he was released on his 60 days and the time that you filed for absconder status, how many times did he report?
I will double check, but I don't believe at all. I think within 30 days of his release is when I got the warrant, because that's our official standard. He had no-showed for his inpatient bed date. I will double check. No, I think that's inaccurate. I think he did report for a week or two.
Okay.
right up until we were discussing drug court, and he had met with Kelly, and then he was set to attend or sit in on drug court hearing, see what it was like. And then I think that's the point at which we stopped seeing Mr. Baskin.
All right. Mr. Baskin, now's your opportunity to tell me anything you want me to know in deciding what to do with this violation today.
I just put it all in God's hand and let you be the judge. That's all I got
Okay.
to start. All I can do.
All right. Well, look, your attorney makes a pretty compelling argument, and it's I think particularly effective with me that I don't like sending drug addicts to prison for being drug addicts. I don't think it works. I don't think it's fair, and all of those things. But I think you were probably told that when you were given a dispositional departure to get probation to begin with. And then you were given a couple of days in jail as kind of a warning that what's going on if you didn't do your probation. Then almost immediately you end up with a 60-day sanction in an attempt to really get your attention and get you set up for drug treatment, which was arranged immediately after your probation, but then you absconded within a month of that time, and you've been out for a couple of years. I don't know that the pandemic's a really good excuse, given that you really stopped reporting and stopped showing up and doing anything towards your probation prior to any kind of pandemic concerns back in 2019. I frankly, and here's where your attorney's arguments kind of fail. There's nothing for me to hang my hat on to say, this is what's going to be different tomorrow if I put you back on probation from what happened before. I disagree with the fact that prisons are only factories for more drug abuse and different drug abuse. They certainly can be if a person is so motivated, but they also give you the ability to access programs, do things such as get job training, recover your identification documents, get yourself clean, get through treatment, and not have to worry about keeping a roof over your head and a meal in your stomach. So I'm not so sure that prison as a sanction, I mean, it is a sanction because you didn't do the things you needed to do to avoid it, but also as maybe the only way that you can be given the resources that you need to be successful and get this drug habit behind you. I don't like sending people to prison for being addicts. In fact, I don't do that. I only send people in drug cases to prison when they've demonstrated to me a lack of effort and or ability to address the things that they need to do when they're out. So you're entitled to all of your jail time credit. You're going to get all that. You're going to get your original 20% off. But I hope that you spend the time that you're going to spend here in prison getting yourself clean, getting yourself in a position so that when you come out, you don't have to be homeless, you don't have to be jobless. And that will, in the long run, although it costs you a number of months of your freedom, be a benefit and a help for you to get yourself to where you need to be. Defendant's probation is revoked. He's ordered to serve the original sentence. Ms. Kebido, anything that I failed, you have a right to appeal this, Mr. Baskin, if you so desire. You have limited time. I believe it's 14 days from today to appeal that. Ms. Kebido, anything else I failed to cover?
He has 12 months of post-release after serving his sentence.
Right, and that was part of the original sentence that remains. All right. Ms. Cadell, anything else that I failed to cover today?
No, sir, I would just ask my client on the record if he wants me to file a notice of appeal.
Mr. Baskin, do you want your attorney to seek, if you know at this point, whether you want her to seek an appeal or not?
Yeah. Yup.
I can't hear.
I
Yep.
can't either.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
He said, yes, he does.
Yes, do file a notice of appeal. Is that correct, Mr. Baskin?
Yes.
Okay,
All right. And
I'll
Ms.
get that.
Cadell, if you would also, I guess that gives you a number of things to do. Get that notice of appeal, your voucher, if you want it. I certainly want to see that you're paid. And if you would like to file a motion to withdraw and have the appellate defender appointed, I'll get that done as well.
thank you, sir.
Yeah. Mr. McSorley, anything I didn't cover?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Baskin, I do hope that you do use the time wisely while you're in and that you don't have to go through this again. This does not make a great day for me in any way. I don't like sending people to prison. I particularly don't like to send people with drug problems to prison, but I honestly feel like you gave me no choice. All right. Anything else for our record today?
No, Your
Thank
Honor.
you from the defense.
We're adjourned, everyone. Good luck to you, Mr. Baskin. Everyone have a good weekend.